Financial advisors. You've been avoiding online for years, and now you have no choice. COVID-19 is forcing you and the rest of us to start getting on Zoom, getting on these virtual platforms, and having to make the best of it. And at the same time, we have compliance issues. Let's face it, customers don't like compliance, they don't like admin, and it's definitely going to affect your customer service. So today we're talking to Glenis Phillips. Glenis, thank you so much for joining me today on scottcundill.com.
Hi, Scotty. My pleasure to be here.
Wow. Well, Glenis, I see you've been doing a lot of presentations lately, webinars, presentations on behalf of the AFA and the FPA regarding client engagement. So let's start with client engagement. From what you said, it seems to me that client engagement has been taking a back seat to compliance for financial advisors. So what problems are financial advisors facing with regards to their client engagement?
Scotty, I think one of the biggest problems is the advisors have got two demographics that are rapidly changing. You've got your older clients who are going to require bringing on their relatives to help them in the planning process. This means that the advisor has to not only talk to an elderly client, he's also probably got to manage two or three of the family. But this can be an advantage for the advisor because if he can demonstrate and build trust with those people, he's eventually going to bring those on as his clients, even if it's not until they inherit. The other area where advisors, I think, struggle is the new demographic, the new younger clients that are coming on who will in the future be their full service clients. These are the very influential millennials. They call them a bit like a thundering herd coming along. The trouble is that these clients want everything online. They want to be involved and be in co-planning, and also they want it at an affordable price. Now there's three big things that the advisor is not used to giving.
This cannot be an easy thing for the financial advisor. And now with everything going online, how do you see them handling, as you quite mentioned, you've got the kind of elderly and the youngsters having to come together. How do you see the online world becoming so prominent within the life of today's financial advisor?
Well, we're very fortunate, I think, that everybody, regardless of age, is embracing being online, and COVID-19 has just hastened that process. So I don't see it as a problem, but the problem for the advisors, they've been so busy concentrating on their compliance, they really haven't got tools that allow them to engage online. You know, you've got to have software that will let you sit in front of a client and you say, here's my great plan, we're going to do this, this and this, and the client says, oh, the bank told me I can't have a loan. So immediately you've got to change that plan. Now, a lot of the software just simply won't let you do that. So advisors need to be looking at the software they're using. And the other thing to remember is that anybody who goes to any professional probably only remembers 10% of what they're told. And I'm sure this will be the same for financial advisors, so that you can give your client a digital tool which allows them to go home and review and maybe share it with their family. The advice has been given. This is going to be a much better process for both the advisor and the client.
I completely agree. And if we go into the planning process itself, you know, Glenis, I see you've been assisting with the FPA in developing specific efficiencies with regards to that planning process. Let's talk about some of the key efficiencies. I know we don't have time to talk about all of them, but if you were to pick maybe one or two really important efficiencies that planners need to engage with or address right now, what would you say they are?
Well, the biggest problem at the moment is the FPA says it takes 26 man-hours to see a client and produce an SOA. Now, that's just outrageous. In this day and age, if you can't have software that's going to allow you to examine everything about the client, do a plan and present it in a quarter of that time, it's just not going to be viable for the advising industry to advise all the people that do. We've already got 48% of the Australian population who've got unmet advice needs. So I think what the advisor needs to do is to look very carefully at what he's using as his digital tools and strip back and say, now what do I need so that I can produce advice at a price that the client can afford. And probably it's having a basic CRM, some investment selection software, and then a really good planning tool, which not only lets the advisor make a plan very quickly, but also to be able to generate that all-important SOA and then take all that information and upload it to the client. Because a lot of the software now, the inefficiency is that if the client asks for something different, it can't be discussed in the meeting because he can't generate the new results. So I think that's something that they really need to address when they're moving forward.
Wow, Glenis, you've brought up something very important there. And in my show, I have something called the moment of mastery, which is that one key piece of wisdom that the listener can get from listening to you today. And for me is going back to what you said just now, the financial advisor needs to be able to do that plan in a quarter of the time, did you say, in order to really make money? I mean,
Yes.
that is a big difference.
Absolutely. And this simply has to happen. And it can happen provided they've got the software. If you can just imagine, if you could have your client go in, put in all their finances, fill out their fact find, create a plan, generate the report, do it all online and have it all done, as I said, in a quarter of the time, this is going to allow the advisor to have more time to spend with more clients and, of course, increase their income. And so that's, as I said, what needs to be done.
Wow, Glenis, you really make such an important point. And for me, it's this ability that you can marry the kind of older kind of generation. And just for the record, I'm 45, so I don't know where I'm going to fit into that process. But for me, I just love to hand it over to an expert. But I know from dealing with the younger generation, the millennials, as you call them, they want to play. They want to move around. They want to change the numbers, play with the figures a little bit themselves. They want to be more engaged in that planning process. And I think what you've done is you've managed the two so well. You've taken the kind of younger generation, but still allowed the older generation to communicate in a way that really works for them. But you've kept the financial planner as a very close, very important, almost companion to the client. And you've put the two together so well. And I really think that what you've created here in terms of your financial mappers software is ingenious. So tell us a little bit more about the financial mappers software and where people can get hold of you.
Financial Mappers software can be bought by the public, but it's primarily for the financial advisor to use in his practice. And as I've been talking about, he can actually share that software with his client. We also have another product, which is a light product for financial institutions who also want their clients to have a better understanding. For me, it's all about having advice for every person in the community at an affordable price. And if people want to find out more about all the services we offer, they can go to financialmappers.com.au.
Glenis Phillips, thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
It's my pleasure, Scotty.